Character creation in Warhammer 40K Rogue Trader is more complex than most other CRPGs I've played in the past few years. There's a lot going on, and after closing in on 80 hours of the game, I think I finally am getting a grasp of some of the finer details because I came into this game completely blind. I'd never played Warhammer before. I started playing in the beta a few months before launch, and since launch I've been playing quite a bit and progressively making my way through this game. But it's a massive game. There's a lot going on. There's a ton of complexity. So today I'm going to be diving into my ultimate beginner's guide to character creation in Warhammer 40K Rogue Trader by Owlcat Games. Hopefully get you up to speed with some of the stuff you might need to know if you are someone coming into the game for the first time. If you've already played the game a bit, this guide's not going to be worth anything to you, but if you're a new player like I was, that's what this is geared towards. So without further ado, we're going to dive in. We're going to go through the character creation process this morning, give you some of the tips and tricks I think that'll help out in the long run. If you haven't already done so and this is your first time to one of my videos, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. Daily streams happen here and on Twitch at 8 a.m. Central Time because we do multi-stream, and I play a ton of different games, so make sure to check out the playlists, join the Discord. Without further ado, let's get into the game and take a peek at creating a new character from scratch. Alright, once you get into the character creation process and you see this screen where you're choosing between creating a custom character or choosing one of the predefined characters, you can go ahead and choose one of these predefined ones, but that's for people who just want to jump in and play. If you're going to be creating something from scratch, that's what this guide is all about. So we're going to go into the custom character section. And we're going to kind of blaze through this early here because the appearance doesn't really matter. You can pick, whatever kind of portrait you want, and then you can go through and you can adjust the faces, you can adjust the body types, you can adjust skin tones, hairstyles, tattoos, augmentations, voice, all sorts of other stuff to just get the appearance that you want. But that's not the fun stuff. The fun stuff starts with homeworlds. So each one of the homeworlds, there are 6 of them, they offer a variety of different things. First and foremost, each one is going to have its own unique feature. So as example, if you are from a death world, once per combat, when your wounds drop below 30%, you gain 20% of your maximum wounds as temporary wounds. It's just, you get a buff, you get a hit point buff is essentially what that means. You also get a 20% bonus to dodge and armor when you have at least one temporary wound from any source. So it basically means that anytime you're going to be getting to a near-death state, you're going to get a bunch of buffs and bonuses to help you survive. If you're Voidborn, you're going to have Fortune at your disposal, which means you can re-roll any failed attack, dodge, parry, characteristics, or skill test with a 20% chance of success beyond that. So each one of these has its own unique feature, which gives it a unique ability. Then you have characteristic modifiers, which are the pros and cons to your character's stats. So in this case, the Death World's +5 strength, agility, and toughness, and -5 to fellowship and intelligence. And all of these have different pros and cons in terms of stats until you get to the Imperial World, which doesn't have any. It's kind of like, in Dungeons and Dragons, how like the humans back in the day, it used to be, dwarves +1, -1, elves +1, -1, whatever, and humans were just across the board. They got an extra skill point. Kind of the same thing here. If you're from an Imperial homeworld, you don't get an adjustment to your stats, but you do get a bunch of other stuff. So those are the ins and outs of that. But you also get talents per world, and each one of these talents do different things. So for example, the Death World, you get Brutal Hunter, Trusty Weapons, Wounded Beast, Lifetime of Scars, Tenacity. And as it says here, these following features will be available after your Origin advancement. So you start off as your Origin character, you play the game, and as you start leveling up, you're going to have access to these as you progress your character. You'll be able to choose from these as you level up. Now moving on from the home world, we go into the Origin. So let's just check, let's click Imperial World, for example. As an Imperial World, you get a slightly different thing here because you get to choose an additional bonus here, right? So this is worth noting. That's just unique to the Imperial World. So let's go back and say that you're from Death World. You don't have that. We go straight to Origins. Once you're in the Origin, consider this. If you've never played Warhammer, the easiest way is to think about like Pathfinder or Dungeons & Dragons. Origins are like backgrounds. it's kind of like a class that you had before you became the rogue trader. So without spoiling anything from the story, there will be an explanation as you get playing the game that you are now going to take your old life, put it behind you, and you are now here in this new area, and it's all about what's going forward, and whatever you did before, it does not matter. However, it might not matter from a roleplay perspective so much, but it does matter because of the bonuses that you bring into the game and the things that you can do based on your previous backstory. What did you do before you were a rogue trader? What was your origin? Now, these are pretty unique, and they can dramatically change the way your character plays. So there's the Astra Militarum Commander, Commissar, Crime Lord, Ministorum, Priest, Navy Officer, Noble, and Sanctioned Psyker. Similar to the homeworlds, each one of these has a unique feature that it brings to the table, which is unique to them and them only. I'm playing a Crime Lord in my first playthrough, so I have Surefire Plan, which is at the start of combat, I get this intelligence bonus stack with an effect. And depending on what I do, it can have one of 3 potential effects at the beginning of combat. You can use it multiple times per turn. It's really cool. You also get characteristic modifiers and skill modifiers, as well as talents that you're going to be leveling up after Origin Advancement in the same way that it said for the homeworld. Now, one of the interesting things about this, if you go down to Psyker, this is where things get a little bit crazy, because Psykers are essentially the magic users of Warhammer 40K. Now, this origin can be combined with any of the archetypes. So when you get into the archetypes, those are the classes of the game that you're going to be essentially following from the point of the start of the game onwards. And then there's archetypes, and then there's the advanced archetypes, and then there's a refination, refining those choices over the course of, hundreds of hours of gameplay if you really want to go all in. But the Psyker actually brings the ability to do psychic abilities, which means you could be whatever it is that you want to be, whatever archetype you pick. It could be a fighter, it could be a ranged character, it doesn't matter. You're also going to be able to use psychic abilities, which gives you access to a whole load of powers and talents that are unique to the Psykers. And the Psykers can spec down a variety of lines, whether it's divination, telepathy, sanctic powers, which is like healing, biomancy, pyromancy. There's a lot of ways that you can specialize your Psyker, and it can get quite complex. So just remember that the origin is like a background, it's like a backstory, it's what your character was before you became the rogue trader. Now, once you move beyond this, if you're choosing a Psyker as an example, notice that this is also going to have a slightly different next step here, because this is where you're going to choose, am I a biomancer, a diviner, a pyromancer, a sanctic, or a telepath? And these are going to give you some base abilities as well as other abilities that you'll be able to choose after your origin advancement happens. After your origin happens, and you can level up through your character throughout the process. So this is another area where you can choose, and you can split yourself between like 2 different as you level up throughout the game, or you can go all in on one specific type of Psyker. So let's just take Psyker for the sake of having it, and let's say we're going to go Pyromancer, right? Next up is Triumph, which is another plus to your character. It just depends on what you want. You get to choose one. And Darkest Hour is a minus, so you get a pro and con that you get to choose from. So just pick the ones that you feel are most applicable to your character. Quick commercial break, everyone, to celebrate and give thanks to all of these amazing people who keep me on the air full time. Really appreciate the support. All you got to do is join as a member. You get access to private videos. You can also do super thanks on any upload, or super chats and stickers on any live stream or premiere you see. And beyond that, don't forget we're multi-streaming over on Twitch now, so you can support over there as well. Thanks so much to everybody. Let's get back to the video at hand. And here's where things get really fun, because the way that you play the game is entirely defined by your origin and your archetype. So you have your choice between warrior, officer, operative, soldier, which is essentially a fighter, a general on the battlefield is the officer, the operative, which is kind of like a spy, so to speak, and then the soldier, which is a ranged DPS character. Each one of these archetypes goes from level 1 to 15. After that, at level 16, excuse me. At level 16, you then go from 16 to 35 in one of 3 different sub-archetypes or subclasses, which you choose based upon what you think is going to be the funnest playstyle for you. So as a warrior, you'll be able to choose like an assassin, a vanguard, or an arch-militant, depending on what your preferences are. Then when you get to level 36 until like 50, you have what's called the exemplar. And the exemplar is essentially a refining of the first choices that you made at level 1 and level 16. And you further refine all of the abilities within those lines to become even more deadly at the things you're already doing. Now remember, this is a 6-person party game, which means your character is one of 6 in total. You have 5 other characters that can join you. If you go with the NPC characters that the game provides you with, each one of the characters that you meet along the way are going to have romance options, they're going to have unique backstories, they're going to have unique homeworld and origins, and they're going to have unique pros and cons that you can't control. As a result, they have storylines and other things going on. But you can also create your own custom party from scratch once you've gone through the introduction and you've gotten to the ship. The process that you just went through right here, you can also essentially repeat the core components of this and create 5 additional custom NPCs that you can hire from your ship to follow you in your adventure and go through. So if you really want to fine tune this and go like for the old school like Icewind Dale style of game where it's 6 parties of characters that 6 characters in a party that you completely control, you'll want to go through this process for each one of them. But that's that in a nutshell. Officers can become vanguards, masters, tacticians, grand strategists. Operatives can become assassins, bounty hunters, or strategists. Soldiers can become bounty hunters, master tacticians, or arch militants. Arc militants? I always butcher that pronunciation. Then you get into characteristics, which are just stats, everybody. So what you have over here are weapons skill, ballistic skill, strength, toughness, agility, intelligence, perception, willpower, and fellowship. And all of those affect these skills over here on the right. So if I were to say I want to take my weapons skill up, that's just going to affect my weapons skill. But look at this, like strength, I take that up. You're going to see the ones that they govern over on the right-hand side. So intelligence is going to govern a whole lot of things. Perception governs awareness. Willpower doesn't govern any of these. Fellowship governs some of these. So pay attention to what these different things are and think about what your character is, what your background is. As a general rule, the ones that are already in green here are ones where you've already received bonuses because of your homeworld and origin decisions. And so you just probably want to go with those, and also archetype decisions. It's a great choice to go ahead and follow these and continue to buff these up even more. There are caps that you'll get to eventually, and that you can boost up other things that you feel like you might need. So don't stress about this too much, because you can change this as you level up throughout the game. Excuse me, you will be able to modify these as you level up. So in this case, I'm just going to put randomly points in here just so you can see how this works. Let's go over to intelligence. You're going to see a bunch of stuff go up as I put points into that. There are only so many points you can put into a certain thing. And once you're done with that, you get to choose the name for your void ship, which is fun, but that's something that's later on. And then you finally get to this screen where you get to see all of your character information laid out in greater detail in sort of a character sheet manner, so that you can see, this is what I've got, these are all my stats, this is what I'm going to be doing, and then decide to go back and make changes if you want to. So that is, in a nutshell, everybody, the essential walkthrough of character creation for those of you who might be new players to Warhammer 40K Rogue Trader. It is a super fun game, super complex. It's going to eat up a couple hundred hours of your time if you really want to go through the whole game and see it all. It's totally worth playing if you've never played an Owlcat game before. They did a couple of Pathfinder games, which are really cool. Pathfinder Kingmaker, Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous. This is their latest offering. Highly recommend it. Not sponsored by them. I just think it's a great game. I got a ton of videos in the playlist, so check that out below. Like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. If you want more like this, don't forget to check out all the other playlists, because I do play a lot of different games, and we do guides for most of them. Also, don't forget multi-streaming every single day, 8 a.m. Central Time, here and on Twitch. I'll see everybody in the next one. Until then, stay safe. Happy gaming.